So ProPublica came out yesterday and said there was a woman, after Roe was reversed, who lived in Georgia, which Georgia had adapted and passed. Their state legislators had passed the 6-week abortion heartbeat prevention law, which, by the way, Donald Trump now opposes. Donald Trump didn't have anything to do with this law, trust me, was not helpful at all. So Roe versus Wade is reversed, and this law is already in effect. This law was actually already in effect in Georgia. She is a young mom, unmarried, has a boyfriend. I think she's living with her boyfriend in the story. Gets the baby, her child is 6 years old. She's pregnant with twins. She goes to North Carolina to have a surgical abortion. She shows up late to the surgical abortion facility. She says her and her friend got stuck. Well, her friend said they got stuck in traffic. They instead said, in all their generosity, don't worry, we'll give you chemical abortion pills. So they give her a chemical abortion pill. It's a cocktail, it's multiple pills. She's pregnant with twins. She goes home to Georgia and eventually starts to get very sick. At one point, she's throwing up blood. So she eventually makes her way to the ER. She gets to the ER, the doctors diagnose that she is septic. Parts of the child, parts of the placental tissue remained within her womb. They started treating her with antibiotics. Once again, we don't know what happened, but for 20 hours, she's in the hospital, and they didn't do a DNC, an emergency DNC, to remove the remaining parts of the dead child and the placenta for 20 hours. By the time they get into the OR, they do emergency hysterectomy, and she dies in the OR. The abortion industry, ironically, is saying that this is because of the pro-life movement. The pro-life movement forced this woman to drive to North Carolina, pay an abortionist for abortion. The abortionist doesn't actually do the abortion, gives her pills, and sends her home, even though the pills that she has and she's given have a black box warning that are very specific about signs of infection, because that's one of the biggest risks of chemical abortion pills. She goes into an ER. We have no idea what's going on in the ER because the doctors have refused to talk, and she dies, and suddenly it's my fault. Okay, yeah. What we know is 3 people are dead. 3 people are dead because a woman felt like her only option was to drive to another state and pay someone for a surgery and then eventually drugs to end the life of her twins. There are a lot of things we do not know. Kamala Harris today went in front of the national press at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time for, I think it was National Black Journalists Association or something like that, and said this woman's death is on Donald Trump's hands. It was a result of Donald Trump. Once again, I've already established, one, that this law was passed by Georgia legislators, who many of them hate Donald Trump. That goes back to the 2021 Senate runoff election, by the way. There's like a lot of bad blood between Georgia Republicans and Donald Trump. So it wasn't really in Donald Trump's hands. He didn't pass the law, and he didn't help pass the law. But it was all his fault. I think we'll see it a lot in the campaign. We know I've done a lot of interviews in the past 2 years, back and forth with reporters looking for cases specifically of women who've died in red states to blame red state pro-life laws. But this is not the case. There's a lot of questions. We know that women who have twins, who are pregnant with twins, many abortionists believe they must be given more chemical abortion drugs than when you're pregnant with 1 child. We do not know if the abortionist did that. We do not know if the abortionist performed an ultrasound to make sure she wasn't experiencing ectopic pregnancy where the children are lodged in a fallopian tube, which could kill her. We know the fact that the abortionist didn't give her aftercare because he didn't perform an ultrasound after the chemical abortions were supposed to take effect to make sure the contents of her uterus were emptied. Why didn't he give her the ultrasound? Why didn't he have to give her the ultrasound? Well, in December 2021, the Biden-Harris FDA removed all of the REMS, the risk evaluation mitigation strategies, off of chemical abortion pills in America. In 2000, when the Bill Clinton administration worked to get chemical abortion pills pushed through to the American market, I mean, they did a lot of work. They used the Population Council. They actually set up Danco, which is a pharmaceutical company that only produces one thing, that's chemical abortion pills. They did a lot to get these chemical abortion pills to market. They used an AIDS protocol to rapidly approve chemical abortion pills. So there actually wasn't an environmental impact study, lots of things. Even the pro-abortion Bill Clinton administration in 2000 attached REMS to chemical abortion pills. A literal black box warning, warning abortionists that these drugs can kill. These drugs are very dangerous. The largest risk is sepsis. And it's not like an unknown risk. Chemical abortions are 50 times more likely than surgical abortion to result in an ER visit within 30 days of ingesting the pills. One woman who has there's one woman for every 20 women who have a chemical abortion who end up in the ER. And there's a number of studies I can cite here. These pills are very, very dangerous, sepsis being the leading cause of death with these pills. And it was the Biden-Harris administration, December 2021, which stripped all of the REMS. What were the REMS? Perform an ultrasound. Why did they strip the REMS? They used COVID as an excuse. That it was too dangerous for women to go to an abortion facility to get an ultrasound before the abortion and after the abortion. It was too dangerous for a woman to ensure that she wasn't Rh negative and the fetus was Rh positive, which could lead to Rh incompatibility, that she needed to be treated with immunoglobulin so she could carry future children to term. They got rid of all of the REMS because the abortion industry wanted to be able to dole out chemical abortion pills across state lines. In December of 2021, something else was happening. That is the month the Supreme Court had the hearing on the Dobbs decision, December 1st, 2021. If anyone had a brain, listened to the hearing, it was very clear we had a pretty good chance in the pro-life movement of how the justices were going to rule, thanks to President Trump's appointment of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court, upholding that pro-life promise he had made. The FDA acted with bias and political intent to get rid of all of the REMS to ensure that when Roe versus Wade fell, the red states could have access to abortion. Kamala Harris needs to look in the big fat mirror, because if she wants to talk about this tragic situation that happened with Amber, she needs to look back at herself. Simply requiring an ultrasound before an abortion to make sure a woman's not having a life-threatening ectopic pregnancy, and then requiring one after an abortion to make sure all the parts of the child, all the parts of the placenta have passed through her into the toilet bowl or into the bathtub. Don't get me started on the environmental impact of that. That is not too much to ask. But that's exactly what the abortion lobby did, because the question was, how can we get the most abortions committed the fastest and cheapest way possible?